Dear students, we had been discussing the piece Tales of Childhood, Lesson 10. We have already finished Units 1 and 2 of this passage. Now we will start Unit 3, page 93. The school was a kindergarten run by two sisters, Mrs. Corfield and Miss Tucker, and it was called the Elm Tree House. Kindergarten is not an English word. Kindergarten is a German word. In Germany, Garten means garden. জার্মান ভাষায় গার্ডেন কথাটার মানে বাগান। তাহলে kindergarten means a garden where flowers bloom. This word was coined by the German educationist Froebel. জার্মান শিক্ষাবিদ ফ্রয়েবেল কিন্ডারগার্টেন কথাটা প্রথম চালু করেন। He wanted that schools should be like gardens. Only then the children can develop both physically and mentally. বিদ্যালয় যদি বাগানের মতো হয় তাহলেই শিশুদের শারীরিক এবং মানসিক বিকাশ সম্ভব। Actually, Froebel wanted that the ambience of the school should be so pleasant that there will be total development of children. শিশুদের সার্বিক বিকাশ হবে যদি বিদ্যালয়ের পরিবেশ মনোরম হয়। That's why the term kindergarten, it is not an English word but a German word. This kindergarten, a school for children, was run means organized by two sisters. What were their names? Mrs. Corfield and Miss Tucker. And the name of the school was Elm Tree House. It is astonishing how little one remembers about one's life before the age of 7 or 8. Astonishing means surprising. The writer tells us that it is very surprising that we cannot remember anything about ourselves before the age of 7 or 8. Can you remember anything about your childhood when you were 3 years old? No. That memory gets blurred. ওই স্মৃতি আস্তে আস্তে ফিকে হয়ে যায়। So we cannot remember our childhood days when we were 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years old. We remember from the age 7 and 8. I can tell you all sorts of things that happened to me from 8 onwards, but only very few before that. The writer says that he can tell us about his childhood days after he became 8 years old, but he cannot tell about things which happened before that. That means when he was 5 or 6 or 7, he does not remember those days. I went for a whole year to Elm Tree House, but I cannot even remember what my classroom looked like. He gives an example. He went to the school for 1 year, but Roald Dahl does not remember anything about the classroom. Nor can I picture the faces of Mrs. Corfield or Miss Tucker. He cannot remember. Hear me, the word picture is a verb here. Here it means to remember. He cannot remember the faces of his teachers, Miss Tucker and Mrs. Corfield. Although I am sure they were sweet and smiling, but Roald Dahl says that their faces must have been sweet and smiling because they were teaching children. I do have a blurred memory of sitting on the stairs and trying over and over again to tie one of my shoelaces. The only memory that he has of his school days is a blurred one. Blurred one means something that is not clear. He has an unclear memory. What is that memory? That he was sitting on the stairs. তিনি সিঁড়িতে বসে আছেন and he was trying to tie one of his shoelaces. Shoelace, lace of the shoe, জুতোর ফিতে. He was trying to bind the shoelaces again and again, but he could not bind it. This is the only memory of his school days. But that is all that comes back to me at this distance of the school itself. That is the only memory of Roald Dahl about the school. On the other hand, I can remember very clearly the journeys I made to and from the school, because they were so tremendously exciting. Though he does not remember the school, he does not remember the faces of the teachers, he of course remembers The journeys to the school, the journey from the school back home. Why does he remember it? Because it was tremendously exciting, means very exciting. Great excitement is probably the only thing that really interests a 6-year-old boy. Roald Dahl says he remembers it because a 6-year-old boy is greatly interested only there is excitement. উত্তেজনা থাকলে তবেই মনে থাকবে. A 6-year-old does not remember any other thing. He does not remember the faces, nothing, but he remembers his journeys because they were very exciting. And it sticks in his mind. If there is excitement, the memory remains in his mind. In my case, the excitement centered around my new tricycle. Tricycle, tri means 3. That means it's a cycle having 3 wheels. Look at the picture. It is a cycle having 3 wheels. It is a tricycle. I rode to school on it every day with my eldest sister riding on hers. Both Roald Dahl and his sister used to cycle to school. No grown-ups came with us. Grown-up means adults, bodora. The adults did not accompany them. And I can remember, so vividly, how the 2 of us used to go racing at enormous speeds down the middle of the roads. Roald Dahl clearly remembers how he and his sister would race. Race means go at a tremendous speed, prochondo jore jawa. At enormous speeds means it's terrible speeds down the middle of the road. And then, most glorious of all, when we came to a corner, we would lean to one side and take it on 2 wheels. When they reached a bend, যখন তারা বাঁকের মুখে আসতো, what did they do? They would lean to one side. To lean means to go on to that side, সেদিকে ঝুঁকে পড়া. They would go on one side and the tricycle then moved on 2 wheels. তখন 2 চাকার উপর দিয়ে চলতো. All this, you must realize, was in the good old days when the sight of a motor car on the street was an event. In these days it is not possible. If today little children speed down the middle of the road, there would be accidents. A motor car, a lorry, a bus would just mow them down. But in those days when Roald Dahl used to go to school, about 100 years ago, at least 70 to 80 years ago, in the good old days, the sight of a motor car was an event. That means it was something extraordinary. In those days, motor cars were few in number. Motor cars সংখ্যা খুব কম ছিল. They were few and far between. তারা সংখ্যায় অল্প ছিল. That's why they could do so. And it was quite safe for tiny children to go tricycling and whooping their way to school in the center of the highway. Highway means main road. In those days, it was safe for children to go on a tricycle and whooping their way to school. That means go to school with great joy and fun. মজা করে স্কুলে যাওয়া. And they could ride their tricycles in the middle of the main road. Highway means main road. So much then for my memories of kindergarten 62 years ago. So 60 or 70 years ago these things happened. He still remembers them. It's not much, but it's all there is left. Roald Dahl says that it is not a great deal of memory, but he can remember only these things. So this chapter comes to an end. Your homework, activity 6, activity 7, page 95. Thank you.